There are some very truly inspiring stories and images that we've seen here. Some of the examples of how diaspora-led efforts are addressing poverty. And it seems that the diaspora is an important driving force for these projects, and so is getting other Canadians involved. So at this moment, we'd like to hear from you. Are there any stories that you would like to share? If there's anybody here who's been involved in some sort of effort to help abroad, either a community of attachment or have met somebody that you've been involved with. We look at some examples. Does anyone? Okay, well, a gentleman over there, across from me with the
Well,
microphone.
I really didn't.
Oops. Sorry, I think I accidentally turned your button off. Yeah, sorry. You'll need to press your gray button again.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. My name is Muhammad Iqbal. I was born in Pakistan, and I came to Canada about 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago. After my retirement, I started a foundation with the help of my wife, and the name of the foundation is Maria Helena Foundation. Now, I like to talk about, you say the title is Innovation, Ingenuity, and to do something out of the way, changing attitudes. It is really not so much about poverty reduction, but there is poverty reduction. I would like to simply say a story you are asking for of one thing, that in Pakistan we have started a primary education in mosques. Now, you know, it's not easy to convince mullahs and other people to allow a regular education in mosque, and especially co-educational of children. So, because in mosques there is space, time from 7 in the morning to about 12, so this is a good way to use the mosque. Normally in Pakistan, they will not allow education other than madrasas, but what we do is we take the local people, strong people, you might say, strong men, the landowners in that area to support it. Then there are young educated people who are looking for work, so they convince the committee of the mosque to let them use the mosque. So that I thought is a bit of innovative way to use. Now also, because the name of the foundation is Maria Helena Foundation, it sounds like a Christian missionary organization. So when we work with those people, it also brings something, what I call it, intangible effect. Although I come from a Muslim background, but the foundation name, named after two grandmothers of my wife, so people have difficulty to say no, saying that, look, this Christian organization is helping Muslim kids to have primary education in mosque. What is wrong with that? Now the next step is we also have regular schools, buildings with 300 students, and all teachers are women. Now, how can women in villages go from one village to the other by local transport? That takes a lot of time. Especially, they have to change the bus. It's not very easy. It takes a lot of time. So our next project is to introduce bicycle riding to women. Now, here you might say, well, you know, what is so great? But in Pakistan, although women do drive cars, but no women rides a bicycle. That is quite an innovation, and it saves time for the teachers to go from one village to another village. The third is actually, it is not our idea, but in Morocco they started adult women's education in mosques. Now, adult women's education, generally conservative Muslims don't allow it. But this is, teacher is a woman. And this will change an attitude to accept that women could obtain education in mosque. I am working on that project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your story, and it's a good example of how you are able to build bridges between here and the place from where you come, and with your understanding of where you're from as well, to make those changes. Does anyone else have a story they'd like to share?
Hi, my name is Doug, and a side project I've been involved with is with my brother, who's an educator, and others, Dr. David Pete, and it's in Liberia. Got to know some people from Liberia, this couple who's Liberian. She's from Liberia, he was from here. They've got a community center over there. My brother is an educator, and Dr. Bernie Bodfin, he heads the Faculty of Education for a small university called Ambrose. And when they were looking back and forth, rebuilding a country like that, the idea is, could we go over there and start a dialogue with some of the leaders in order to draw alongside them to assist in the educational curriculum of the schools? And that's another story. There were other people locally who've gone over and they've helped build some schools over there, along with a bishop over there. But it's interesting, so they were able to meet the president, the vice president, the minister of education, the heads of the people who are doing the education over there, to start that dialogue back and forth, with the idea that if the educational curriculum can sort of jump to 21st, so your education looks like local context of how to educate people into plenty instead of poverty, you know, the pedagogy of plenty rather than rote education, using some of the best techniques. The challenge is, how do you balance the resources here when you have quite a few intellectual resources with the local connections and know-how there? Because for all we can draw alongside with the resources, they're the people on the ground and they know what needs to be done and how to implement it. And so some of those questions and trying to ensure that we're just drawing alongside with them taking the lead, that's been the challenge, and that's sort of where we are right now, wanting to continue that dialogue.
Thank you, Doug. Does anybody have any suggestions for meeting some of the challenges that have been brought up? Light right there. Somebody's. If you raise your hand quite noticeably, I can see you better. Oh, Sumana.
Yeah. So I would like to explain how actually I do my work, because since I have the connection to municipal councils and all universities and NGOs and all other organizations, active organizations in Sri Lanka. So what what my working procedure is like, we have partners to work there. So those partners actually have the same vision and the principles of working principles with us. So I'm working with one Chamber of Commerce as a semi-government partner, and also one other two civil society organizations, and also one municipal council, and some of the community-based organizations. So today the world is like we have the technology to communicate, like, communication is easy. So somehow I go there, like, once a year or there twice a year, but they implement projects, like we communicate with them. So basically we raise little funding to push the projects up, but our basic idea is like, make them independent, and also use our working style, Canadian working styles, like other than this, they're working in like some old colonial styles, but So, like, some of the Canadian work experience towards their efforts. So that way we have to have partners there, because they can go to the grounds, they can identify the ground situation as well as community needs, and also respond immediately, other than the money we are going to generate from this with using our diaspora community and larger Canadian community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumana. Across there.
Hi, my name's Sumida Switlow from QSO VSO. I'm from the Ismaili Ugandan diaspora, and I would like to say that in my family, each one of us does our work in a very, very unique and different way. One member may sign a check and support an organization with a partner on the ground. Another, like my daughter, Narina, who's in Tanzania, is serving with QSO VSO on secure livelihoods. Another one is a doctor and goes and serves in Uganda, providing services. But it's kind of interesting to see how different family members all have this attachment and all have the connection and do it in their own unique way.
Thank you. I think family is an interesting thing. In two of the stories we heard, Sumana talked about her son having a connection and raising money, and then Lori also being a second generation, or not being born in the Philippines, but still maintaining that connection. I'm wondering if anybody has any comments on how you keep that generational momentum going once you've left your country of origin. Okay.
It is very important because, especially if you don't grow up where the country origin where you were born, my privilege was I had my grandparents and also my parents who teach me the food, the songs, and everything else that the country have. So this is a way also when we learn how things done or what they have, so that give us a little bit more opportunity to evolve ourselves and to learn to know ourselves as well. Like my mother would teach me how to cook, and if I didn't pay attention, I wouldn't even be able to do anything right now at this earthquake. So that's where I find family is very important, because we can ask questions from each other and we learn from each other for the benefits of tomorrow. So by learning things from my mom and collaborating with my sister to do things, so now I'm continue on that path to help the way that I can for my country at this moment. So it is very, very important to keep a tight close with family, because we help each other. And that's also where you can find the strength to continue to do what you need to do. Thank you.
The gentleman in the red vest.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Amos. I'm the president of Umoja Operation Compassion. I partner with SFU to do some of this work. It's very interesting how families are getting involved, and I just want to share very quickly what my family has done. My son went to Uganda because we built a school in Uganda, and I will share with you one little project about women. But when my son, at 19 years old, saw children sitting on the ground eating food in a school that we just built, he came back and said, "Daddy, I want to go back and help these kids." He dances at school. He organized kids to dance, and they did a fundraising and raised $1,000 out of dancing. He sent that money back to build a dining hall for these kids so that they can have a roof over their heads. So I just want to echo what my Ugandan friend says, how family is connecting to help. But let me share one little story about a microcredit that we started in Uganda for women. We just had $1,000 and targeted 10 women. and gave this $1,000, and I talk about this all the time because the impact in 3 months, that $1,000, this $100 per woman, multiplied the women, within 3 years, there are now 37 women with families being impacted by $1,000. Now, what SFU is doing in these dialogues of how we diasporas can impact families is extremely important. And I think we need to rethink how aid is going in the third world. Canadian government is pushing money into countries in the third world, and several millions of money is going into governments with bureaucracies, and people are continuing to be poor. But look at what the diasporas are telling us. These simple stories of little monies, $200, $400, impacting families. You hear from Sri Lanka, from Philippines, from Uganda. Families are being changed. Houses are being built with very little money. But look at what Canada is pushing into these third world countries in terms of aid. That's what grieves my heart. And I live here, I pay taxes, money goes to these people, but the little that we raise in birthday parties, in fundraisings, at work, you have draws, you raise $10, $20, $30, you make $100. See the impact it does. I think Canada has to rethink how aid is going to the third world. I think we diasporas have to come in and tell our stories. Now, if CEDA can avail money to individual diasporas and make a follow-up, look at what Philippines is doing. You look at the buildings they're building with the little money. I think that's what we need to begin to think as diaspora people living here. Small projects are making impacts, but big projects with big governments are only fattening ministers and presidents, and that must change.